Bada bing, bada boom, bada bam. What's going on, guys? As you can see from the intro, I don't know how this is possible, but I ended up getting third place in a $5 daily fantasy sports GPP tournament for $1,500. And this was my second week, kind of like first week playing these GPPs. A couple weeks back, I did the DFS week. I had on a couple of the best DFS players in the world, had on a couple of the best analysts in the world, and somehow I went from a cash game player who played heads up and played a little bit of heads up in 50-50s last year, but kind of not too much, to really excited playing tournaments. And, you know, week one was coming, and I messaged my buddy Jonathan Bales, who I had on the podcast. I said, Bales, Papi, you know, what do I do? I don't know what, I literally have no idea what to do. So he's like, all right, let me get you set up on my site, FantasyLabs. He showed me around the program a little bit, showed me kind of how it works, showed me how the website works. I was like, all right, cool. So first week, didn't really do much. I kind of just fucked around on Thursday, and that was it. Second week, 2 hours before kickoff, I'm sitting on my computer, super tired. I say, all right, let's record this. Let's make a video. I'm going to make my video this week for DFS, talk about, you know, it's a way to show I'm getting better, a way for other people to get better at the same time, too. I just thought it'd be a fun thing. It would keep me engaged with NFL. Load up FantasyLabs. I start, you know, I'm gonna get into this. I'll talk about the process in my video. I'll kind of talk about exactly, you know, what I'm thinking and where I'm at right now. At some point in time, I message Bales. I say, Bales, who is this guy M. Thomas from New Orleans Saints, and why do they keep putting him in my lineup? He tells me he's like a third or fourth string guy. I X out of his name. The next lineup they give me is the lineup that ends up getting third place. So yeah, guys, I'm going to get into the video and show you the process, kind of talk a little about my mindset and where I'm at now. I want, if you guys have feedback, good or bad, if I'm thinking completely wrong about things, I appreciate you guys got questions as well. Put the questions in the comments below. And honestly, man, I really, you know, I feel like one of those dorks that's talking about I couldn't have done this without this site, but I mean, there's no chance I would have made this thing and had this success without FantasyLabs. So, you know, if you guys are interested in checking out FantasyLabs, you're interested in getting on there, there's a link in the description below. You can check it out. If you guys do join and, you end up joining, you end up supporting the podcast, you end up supporting me or whatever, however it works exactly. I'm not too familiar with how this shit kind of works yet, but if you do, let me know, get in touch with me, send me an email, send me something on Facebook, send me something somewhere, and I'll put you in we're going to do a daily fantasy sports group on Facebook. We're all going to kind of be new. Hopefully we can all get better throughout the way. So we'll be doing the group. I'll be doing more in-depth videos each week that goes into my thought process, goes into the way I'm thinking about things. And hopefully by the end of the season, man, I can turn my $200 initial investment on FanDuel into $100,000. And hopefully a lot of you guys can have some success too. So yeah, let's get into the recorded video and let's take a look at exactly what happened and how it's done. Okay, so here was kind of my process for things. So I basically did this all on the FantasyLabs website. I started off, so it's, like I said, it was 2 hours before. I didn't really know much about going into the week. I listened to the Adam Levitan, the podcast he does, the 3-man podcast on DraftKings before things got started. But I didn't really listen to it all. So I was a little bit unsure what was happening for week 2. I knew I wanted to get Jay Cutler on some lineups because I'm a Bears fan and I'm obviously not thinking very correctly. So what I did last week was I entered one tournament. I entered 33 entries. So my idea was I didn't really know what to do. I want to play GPPs. I don't want to enter the massive ones, but I wanted to enter something that was a little bit smaller of a field, but still, like, I don't really know how to necessarily think about it. So kind of what I did was I entered one $5 tournament, the second Sunday Sling or something. It had 11,500 people in it, and I don't exactly know why. I guess the idea, I wanted to make 10 lineups with 3 different quarterbacks and then sort of have my core group of guys, my core group of running backs, wide receivers, and then build lineups around that. And then I would use FantasyLabs sort of figure out and use some articles to figure out exactly who I want those players to be in there. And then yeah, so I guess I'll start it here from the beginning. I'm going to cut around in the video a little bit too as I walk through it. So I went on the FantasyLabs site and I went to the week 2 matchups. They have these positional reviews. So I just went to quarterback and I was just looking through there and kind of seeing, you know, all right, like who do they say for quarterbacks? What do they say is good? Et cetera, et cetera. So I was kind of scrolling through it a little bit. I saw this RG3 thing and I thought about Josh McCown for a second, but I'm like, no, Josh sounds fucking terrible. So I kept scrolling down. Didn't really see anything that was I thought about Dak Prescott as well because I figured he'd be low owned this week after last week, but And I just kept looking, and then finally I get down right to the end where it says the 5-step drop. So, and I was kind of like, I didn't really know about Cam Newton because he's the most expensive quarterback. And I heard Adam Levitan on his podcast talk about he wanted him in cash, I think, but I thought he said something about him maybe being a bad term and play. So, but when I read this, I read facing a 49ers defense that last year was 30th in the NFL against pass. I'm like, all right, well, that's my guy. Like, I already know the 49ers are terrible. Like, I want to go with Cam Newton. And then, yeah, so I was thinking Cam Newton. All right, let's do Cam Newton. That'll be my other guy. And then I couldn't really decide who I wanted the other third quarterback to be, so I ended up going with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston on Buccaneers had a really good week 1, and it was something Bales actually told me, and I think I misapplied the information. Because he told me I want to look for people with low ownership percentage and high potential value. But I think I don't know if that necessarily matters to me personally because I'm only entering 30 lineups. So I was like, well, Jameis Winston's probably going to be low owned because he's going against the Arizona Cardinals, who are supposed to be pretty good at defense. But he had a pretty big week last week. But I think that was kind of a mistake because I didn't really know if to stack him with Mike Evans or Vincent Jackson. And but yeah, I wanted to go. I went with Jameis. I went with Jay Cutler, my boy, and then I went with Cam Newton. After I read this is pretty much the reason why I went with Cam Newton. So I didn't really know much about who else I wanted to go except Cam Newton and with with Jay Cutler and Alshon Jeffrey. That was like my first thing. I said I'm doing Jay Cutler, Alshon Jeffrey, and then let's go from there. So I hop over into the models here, and I'm starting to take a look. And this is kind of the models page. It makes it really easy to use. I mean, I guess it looks kind of looks crazy to use, but it makes it pretty easy. And I kind of used some programs last year. I used some websites last year for NBA. So I'm familiar with using sites, but I imagine a lot of people might look at this and say, what the fuck is happening? So, but yeah, I think that they do have some pretty good tutorial stuff on the site too. And if anybody needs help, let me know. I'll do something a little bit through it. I'll do a video on the site or something like that if anybody needs more help too. So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. I'm just kind of looking around. I knew I wanted Travis Benjamin. That was one of the main guys I wanted because Keenan Allen's hurt. And I feel like he's number one wide receiver now. He's probably going to have a pretty good week. So even though it says in here his projected own is pretty high, I still want to have him in my lineup. So I was trying to figure out this stat that I was using last week, but I couldn't figure out the stat I was using. So yeah, I was looking for points per salary. And then I was using projected ownership percentage with points per salary. So I put Cutler and Alshon Jeffrey. And this is where I made my first mistake, guys. So I generated lineups just automatically off of Alshon Jeffrey and Jay Cutler. And so I had guys in mind. Had guys that I wanted, but I definitely fucked up here in this first couple lineups because as you're going to see, so they give you 10 lineups. You can hit which ones you want to save. So I go to select none first, and now I'll go through and I'm selecting my lineups. So I got to get my cousin Mark Ingram in a couple lineups. The Saints and the Giants game was projected to be pretty high, and he was projected to do pretty well, and he's my fucking cousin, and his ownership was going to look low. So I picked that lineup as well, plus Antonio Brown and Jarvis Landry and Antonio Gates were in there, and I thought Gates potentially could be good too with Keenan Allen out. So I just pretty much just snap picked that one. The second one I just picked because the players looked pretty, and I really wanted CJ Anderson in my lineups. Actually, no, I didn't want him yet. Let's not go to that yet. So I just messed up here, basically. I just randomly picked these couple lineups out of here, saved them, and didn't go back to them at all after I got more research. So I think that was a very, very big mistake, and that's something that I'm going to have to fix next week. I can't just go to these lineups and then not go back and review them after I figure out more information, after I get a better idea in my head, sort of thing. So as you can see, instantly I put the Carolina defense in too because I knew I wanted the Carolina defense. I generated a couple more lineups without looking at anything else. I didn't look at anything running back related yet. I didn't look at anything wide receiver related yet. So now I realize I don't know what I'm doing for running back. I go take a look at this Rashad Jennings character, and I say, not going to be able to fucking do it. There's no chance I'm having this guy named Rashad Jennings in my lineup. I'm kind of looking around now. I'm looking at trying to find exactly where the matchups are. That matchup screen was. I don't know what this screen is. I don't know exactly what this is right here, but this looks pretty lit, right? Like I don't know what the hell this is. Bales, you gotta show me what this means, bro. I don't know what this is. This page looks really cool though. So I go there, I look at the Vegas totals for who's going to potentially who's going to score a lot. And then I go to the matchup page again, and I go to running backs. So now as I'm going through running backs, I'm trying to figure out which running backs do I want. And I read the top part, which is kind of funny. And then there was something in here, I believe, that gave me something. Yeah, this kind of thing they wrote about the Chiefs, I think took me off of where a little bit. This 80-20 rule is why I picked D'Angelo Williams in my lineups, and kind of why I picked TJ Yeldon too. So they wrote who has 80% of who was we saw 5 running backs receive at least 80% of their team's rushing attempts. So I decided to go with D'Angelo Williams and TJ Yeldon and some Jeremy Langford in these lineups because I saw this stat and Yeldon's salary was cheap and intriguing. So I got roped in by this intriguing bullshit down here. So fuck you guys. I'm kidding. You guys showed a lot of love. I saw this thing about the Kristen Michael and Raul. I said, nah, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I saw the Garrett Blount and James White, but I didn't really think about them at all. And you'll understand why that is in a little bit, why that matters. The passing ones I play in FanDuel, it doesn't matter. Then I looked at the salaried 7 and basically they don't like anyone. So David Johnson I was going to initially do, but here it says playing against a Buccaneers team that last year was top 10 against backs. I'm like, yeah, let's not do that one. Then I see CJ Anderson. Look at this description. At home against the Colts defense that literally escorted opposing running backs to the end zone in week 1. I said, I'm in. D'Angelo Williams near the top of our median floor and ceiling projections. I'm in. So those were my 2 guys, man. Those are the 2 guys I wanted to go with. And yeah, those are the 2. So I went back to here. Ended up using this points per salary metric right here, which I like. Is really good. They had CJ Anderson, TJ Yeldon, D'Angelo Williams at the top. No coincidence. Guys that I want to have in the lineup. So those were kind of the 3 guys I wanted to try to get in my lineups. Right now, I end up looking for people that were going to be projected to be low owned and looking for potential value. And I don't know. I don't think I found any. All right, so now I'm in wide receivers, and this is where I end up clicking on Jarvis Landry. So I saw Jarvis Landry. I really got obsessed with this fucking ownership, man. I don't know, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how to think about it, guys. I really am not. The projected ownership stuff, I don't know how to really approach it. I really need to study up a little bit more on that. If you guys have any tips on that, let me know, because I'm just not sure exactly how to approach that situation. So I end up clicking on Jarvis Landry though, who ends up being in my 3rd place lineup too. And I mean, you guys, it's kind of crazy. You get to see exactly, how I came to be in this situation here. So let's see what I did was here. I'm looking at Mark Ingram. He's my cousin. I saw he did terrible. I'm like, you know what? I got faith. He's family. You don't turn your back on family. Kind of just selecting guys that have my guys that I want in there. I didn't really do much wide receiver research, unfortunately, though. So then I end up, Bales did this clickbait thing on Gmail where he sent out his pick and he had the Detroit Lions in there. So I'm like, oh man, Bales sent me this on email. I need to put it in my lineup. So I put the Lions in a couple of these lineups too. I took out Antonio Brown because these motherfuckers are obsessed with Antonio Brown in every single lineup. So I took out Antonio Brown. I did some non-Antonio Brown lineups. Then I go make a couple here. Alshon Jeffrey, Jeremy Langford, Jay Cutler lineups just in case the Bears go off, which obviously, they didn't. I just love the Bears. So then I made up 21 lineups. I went to the lineups page here, checked out where my exposure was at with different people. I had a bunch of Antonio Brown, Alshon Jeffrey, my boy Jarvis Landry, and then tight ends were a little bit all mixed around. Oakland defense, and then the running backs that I mentioned. And I ended up just deleting some lineups because I only wanted to do 10. But I couldn't delete 10. I think I just kept 12 or 13. All right, so now I'm making some Cam Newton lineups. And so with Cam Newton, It's kind of interesting because he's got Calvin Benjamin, he's got Greg Olsen, and I guess there's a good chance they were gonna win by a lot too, but I just thought that he seemed to be pretty highly rated and highly recommended across the board. So I decided to stack him with make some lineups of Calvin Benjamin and some lineups of Greg Olsen. And I wanted to do one or two of them together, but I don't know. Wasn't sure if that would be a good strategy or not. But I guess in retrospect, it probably would have been a good strategy because if Cam Newton does go off, then in theory he'd probably. I don't know if it's a good strategy, honestly. I don't know if it is. It seems like even if he does, I don't know. Not sure about that. Really what's best in that situation. So I look around at lineups. There's this guy, Michael Thomas, in all of them. I say, who the fuck is Michael Thomas? I don't know who Michael Thomas is. So now I'm kind of looking at the lineups. I'm trying to find guys. I keep seeing Thomas in these lineups. I should have just probably got rid of the Thomas lineups, to be honest with you. So I'm being a little bit more selective in this one. I'm not just jumping the gun, just picking them all. I ended up picking this one with Eddie Lacy and Mark Ingram because they both projected to be low owned, and it seems fishy. It seems fishy just to pick some guy and like Eddie Lacy, just have him in one or two lineups. I don't think that was probably a good approach to do it. So now I end up building some Carolina defense with Cam Newton. And I look up Michael Thomas, and I saw he had 4.9. Or he did okay in week 1 above his plus minus one. So, and then I say, fuck this guy. I exclude him from lineups because the FantasyLabs has a hard on putting him in every single lineup. And then we come to our lineup. That gets us 3rd place in here. So now I'm going through here. I'm looking. I see a lot of combinations of guys I like. I see a lot of my names. I see a lot of TJ Yeldon, CJ Anderson, Calvin Benjamin, a little bit of Antonio Brown. Can't be the worst thing to have Antonio Brown in your lineup, right? In theory. Carolina D, Vincent Jackson. I'm scrolling around, looking around. I go down, go back up. Not too excited with what I'm seeing here. Kind of click that one sheepishly. Look at that one. I say, nah, fuck yeah. Looking around. See Shane Vereen. Please don't tell me I picked that one. I did not pick the Shane Vereen Danny Woodhead one, did I? I guess I did. I go back down. I see this one. Cam Newton, LeGarrette Blount, D'Angelo Williams, Jarvis Landry, Julian Edelman, Travis Benjamin, Greg Olsen, Justin Tucker, Carolina defense. And I say, you know what? I don't think I have LeGarrette Blount in any lineups. Or I think it was Julian Edelman. I saw him. I'm like, get a little Julian Edelman in there. In reality, it probably wasn't good to have the Patriots running back and the wide receiver in there, but I got my other guys, Landry, D'Angelo Williams, Benjamin, Olsen, Carolina defense, Cam Newton. Those are kind of the guys that I really wanted to have in my lineup. So finally, I pause over it. I'm unsure. Look at this. I pause and then I click it finally afterwards. I'm thinking about it. Click that one. It's in. Go down to this one. It's got TJ Yeldon, CJ Anderson in there. A little bit of Jordan Matthews in there. I'm in. Not sure how to approach that situation of the random wide receivers. I don't know if it's better just to kind of build different lineups around your core of guys, and then you have like your core 5 or 6, and then you sort of like pick in other guys maybe that are projected to do well. I'm not sure what would be optimal in that situation. And then we're back. We're looking at wide. Look at this. So Jameis Winston was projected to do fucking terribly. And I decided, hey, let's get Jameis Winston, man. He's strong. You strong? I strong. You strong? I strong, man. Yeah, that's what he says. So I get Jameis Winston, and I don't know. At this point, I just kind of wanted to be done with it a little bit too. Picking 30 lineups, like I don't really have like a concrete idea, like a form of attack, a plan of attack sort of thing. So, I'm kind of just looking for my guys. All the guys are kind of blending together. I see my boy Delaney Walker in that one. I picked that one up. I mean, I feel like this idea is good because you get a bunch of guys you think are going to do well, and then if 2 or 3 of them do well, then I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm used to the heads up cash game mentality, so this DFS GPP mentality is a little bit different for me. So I like this. I don't jump the gun. I don't just pick the best lineup straight away. I just pick a couple lineups. I picked that one. I like that one. I got a little AJ Green in that one. Like, all right, you know, AJ Green, might as well get him in some lineups. He did well last week too. I see that's the Shepard guy, Sterling Shepard, Sam Shepard, Stevie Shepard, with a couple of all the other guys that I like. Or I guess I don't like them all. So I only save a couple lineups out of that, which I like that. I didn't jump the gun. I go put Carolina's D back in here. Look at a couple more lineups. Yeah, I just picked 3. So I only ended up with 5 Jameis Winston lineups, I believe. Let me take a look here what I did. You strong? We strong. Yeah, I had 33. Yeah, I had 33 lineups. I had 45% Jay Cutler, my boy. Cam Newton, no, Cam Newton. Winston. So yeah, it kind of gives you a little exposure look. So wait a second. So I guess this is kind of cool to review this. So initially I thought I said I wanted Travis Benjamin, and I'm pretty sure in my mind I wanted Travis Benjamin, but obviously I didn't want him that much because his exposure is not very high in my lineups up there. I have more Vincent Jackson. Well, I guess I put him, it's because I have him with, interesting. Yeah, it's those early Jay Cutler lineups that I had a bunch of Antonio Brown in. So, and then Kelvin Benjamin was in most of the lineups. I mean, Greg Olsen isn't even in that many lineups. I mean, man, this is interesting to really review this. Shows me I gotta pay a little more attention to the construction. I mean, yeah, second week, you know, you need to do fishing hard, but we're gonna get better. I promise, guys. We're gonna get better. I export the lineups, put them into FanDuel. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bam. And then we end up getting 3rd place. So now we have about $1,600 in our FanDuel account. Our goal is going to try to be to get to $100,000 before the end of the year. And we're gonna have fun, man. We're gonna be gambling it up. We're gonna be trying to win a lot of money. We're not gonna knit it up. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. Give me some feedback if you like the video idea, you like the series. And yeah, if you want to check out FantasyLabs, like I said, the link will be in the description below. And let's see what happens, guys. Let's see what happens this week. So appreciate y'all watching. Much love. Adios.